Take a moment and join me, if you will, in our opening spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer. And I will do this in the first person. Take it as you choose, also in the first person. There is one power, one truth, one life, one power in all of its shapes and forms and names and expressions. And we are each one of those expressions. We are each a unique and particular expression of that one power, coming forth with our gifts, our joys, our ideas, and our truth. Knowing that that is so, we celebrate each one here. We celebrate life as it is presented as us. And in that celebration of life, we let all unfold in right, good thinking. I know that right here, right now, our lives are exactly where they need to be and are exactly as they are designed to be. Knowing that this is so, I can release this with joy. I can let it be. And so it is.
So it is.
So I want to welcome you all. This is a place for like-minded people. And I want to say that like-minded does not mean agreeable on everything. Because part of what I love about this center is that we have folks sitting here who are from all sides of life, who are from all kinds of dimensions of cultures and socioeconomic and political, can you believe it? And all kinds of areas of life, and yet we are like-minded in that we honor one another's truth, we honor one another's right and freedom to pursue the paths of our lives according to our beliefs, and we are a place where we can come and hear something positive about life and don't get all caught up in what's wrong with any of it. So I welcome you to our wonderful community, and tell you that whoever you are, wherever you've been, if this is your first time or your 441st time, I'm glad you're here and you are coming to something brand new because it's never happened here this way before. You've never been where you are before, so you get to start a brand new thing today. We are a center that honors every walk of life, and we do that through many, many paths and many, many ways. So part of what we do in celebrating our world and our lives and the way we see the world is all tied up in what we believe. So our what we believe statement right here is our declaration of principles, and I invite you to join me in reading that together. Stand if you'd like to. I believe in one God, one absolute power and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe all thought is creative, and I choose to think in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. And so it is. Thank you. Be seated. A core part of our teaching and where our ideas come from and continue to grow from is consciousness, but it's also consciousness from those on whose shoulders we stand, from our teachers, our leaders, our folks of the past as well. So today we have a reading and a spiritual mind treatment, an affirmative prayer by the wonderful Judy Ailey. Thank you.
Is that it? Hey, is that it? Okay, good. Welcome. Glad to be here this morning. Happy Memorial Day. This has been my birthday week, so I've had sort of a fun week with lots of extra activities. And my great nephew decided to arrive to the world on my birthday, so that was really very special too.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, life is a cycle, right? We remember those who have gone before us, and new life comes. So today I have a reading for us from the Science of Mind, and this is from the meditation section for self-help. And the reading is entitled, I See No Evil. This was actually the one that was on my birthday. So I was like, wow, this is my favorite reading of the week. I see no evil. I behold only the good. I have seen the drunkard lying in the gutter and the saint kneeling in ecstasy before the high altar of his faith. But I have found no difference. I have perceived that each, in his own tongue, is seeking to express the one life. I will not separate and divide. I cannot condemn nor censure, for I know that there is but one in all. I know that all came from the one, and all will return to the one. I know that all are now in the one, and that each is seeking to express the one. I know and love all. All right, so if you'll just get nice and comfortable in your seats, put your feet on the floor. We'll have an opening treatment or affirmative prayer. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. And allow yourself to take a couple of nice, slow, deep breaths. And as you do that, just allow your attention to come to this place, to this moment, to this time, and accept this for yourself as I do this treatment in the first person. I recognize and know that there is one power, one presence, one life, one great goodness, one infinite energy and intelligence, that this power and this presence and this goodness permeates every bit of life. It infuses it, it embodies it, it expresses through me in every possible way. It expresses through those around me. It expresses through incidences that I encounter in my world. It expresses through just everything, that this power in this presence is good, and it is everywhere. I know that I am absolutely one with this. This is the reality, the truth of my being, the wholeness of who I am, the unchangeable foundation of the truth of my being is this power, this presence, this wholeness, this love, this endless generosity, this endless expression of good. I know that I am centered in it, and that I take time this morning and all times, I take times to plant the seeds of thought, the ideas that will flourish and enhance my physical experience in this world. I plant seeds of love everywhere I look. I plant seeds of joy. I plant seeds of endless prosperity. I plant seeds of life flowing with great ease and pleasantness and great joy. So I know this for myself. I know this for myself. I just take the time to sink into the sense and acknowledgement of my oneness with this presence. I know that all is good. I turn away from any idea of the appearance or the belief in anything that opposes this. There is no opposition to my treatment, to my belief in the good in my life. There is absolutely nothing that says that I need to be sick, unhappy, struggling financially, struggling with situations, or trying to make life happen. I turn away from any idea that says that this spiritual presence, that this loving God is sending lessons of life for me to struggle through, that I have to struggle through things to learn my lessons. I turn away from that kind of thinking, and instead I sink into the belief and to the knowledge that this one goodness, that this one power is a loving presence and a loving power, completely, totally, absolutely. And this is my reality. So in the face of anything that appears other than this, I know that those things just are not the truth of me. And instead, I know my life is a life that is good and that expresses the good. I just turn away from any of the rest of it, I am so grateful for knowing this. As I move throughout my world and I see the world and I see situations that look so hard, that look like there's only animosity, that look like, how could this possibly work out? How is this ever going to be resolved? When I see those, I look with the eyes of spirit and with the eyes of love and with the eyes that are always looking for the goodness that is behind the appearance, the wholeness, the truth, the love that is there, the reconciliation that can come, the oneness that is always there, that nothing is divided against this oneness to oppose it. So I am just grateful for this knowledge, grateful for this understanding. I just take a moment to really breathe in this peace, this wholeness, this love, this opportunity to live life beautifully, to live life in a greater way than ever before. So I'm grateful for this moment, grateful for this opportunity to be here today and to hear the words that we're going to hear. And I just know that my words are powerful. So I release this treatment now, knowing that it is so, and together we say, and so it is.
So this is Memorial Day weekend, and I just want to say a quick word about that because the talk's not really about that, but I do want to say that it is about, as you well know, more than hot dogs and hamburgers, although in my current state of a relationship with food, it's hard to think of much more than it being about that. And I just want to say that I hope you're finding a way this weekend to really celebrate having a nice long weekend and take a moment to honor those people who have given their lives, who died in the service of our country. That's a really important thing. I am always deeply touched by anyone who believes in their beliefs, who believes in what they know and think and feel, to the point that they're willing to put everything on the line for it. And now it's not just some great value in being a martyr, but there is great value for all of us in living according to what we believe no matter what. And that part does fit into today's talk. So as you go through your joyous weekend, take a moment and be grateful to those folks. Because whether you agree with why they did it or how they did it or war or peace, just know that that kind of commitment is a deeply held value in this country and in the world that keeps feeding all of us and against which we can measure and look at, do I really believe this? And if so, what am I willing to do about it? Do I really believe the things I say? And if I do, what am I willing to step forward with? And what path am I willing to choose? So thank you for honoring that moment and honoring them. They all stand, and I suspect all of us have someone in our world, in our lives, connected by 6 degrees of separation, who are the ones being honored today. So, nice deep breath. Take a moment to give them love and praise, and then we'll move on down the road. Thank you. So the legends of King Arthur from ancient Britain are more than just quasi-historical stories. They are, and more than just good scripts for romantic, violent superhero movies. They are stories that emerged as mythological depictions of things that mattered. And much of the consciousness of Britain in the years following that, and of the whole English Isles, grew out of the reflection on those stories. And a core part of that, is the whole business of Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. And at one point in the story, he sends them out on a quest for the Golden Grail, for the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail has many different meanings. It's that great spiritual something we're all looking for, or it's in the literal sense, it was thought of as a grail, as a a container of some sort that had the names of all of the children of Jesus on it. Another version says it had pictures of all of the apostles on it. But it was a great, great spiritual something that folks were looking for. And they weren't even sure what it was when they went looking. But the part I want to focus on is that when they were preparing to go, what he said to them is, we know the Grail is hidden in the forest. Well, all of this is metaphorical. The Grail is in the forest. The spiritual something we're looking for is often hidden in us or out there. And if you want to find it and if you want to get to it, the path is not going to be a path that's already established. Because if you're walking a path that's already established, if the Grail were there, they would have found it. So it's got to be somewhere else. So find a place and enter the woods where there is no path and create your own. And that has a universal ring to it, because what it points to is the idea that our path, our way, our most truthful path that serves us is a path that isn't necessarily one everyone else has followed. So the idea is that when we are looking for our spiritual truth, when we are looking for that which really serves and goes forth for us, when we're looking for our way in the world and our way in our own spiritual growth, that way is rarely where other people have been. Now, there may be ways that it looks like where they've been. There may be ways that it looks similar, like we teach these principles, these ideas, science of mind. But that's not because that is your path. It is because those are the ideas and signboards and principles that can help you find your path and walk your path and live your path. Our whole point this month has been tools for the journey. And one of the great tools for the journey is finding your particular individual path. You're one of a kind. Nobody else like you. Nobody else born in your time. No one else born as you are. No one else looks like you are. No one else is who you are on the inside or the out. And the tool we talked about last week was finding and establishing and knowing your true self. And that is one of the most important aspects of your spiritual self for going forth and forward on finding and walking what is your true path, what is your unique way, what is your unique life and gift to yourself and the world. See, because your true self is your greatest assistant in this. My unique path is sometimes characterized by the spirit animal coyote. And if you're familiar with any of that Native American stuff, coyote is the spirit animal that just is constantly bumbling along, but he always gets where he's going. He always gets what he wants. He gets along great with humanity, but turns over lots of trash cans looking for treasures till he finds the ones he's after. And I think today is an example of coyote showing up for a little interference in my own consciousness, creating this. So here we are. So coyote aside, finding your true self, be it coyote or otherwise, and being able to use that. It's your source of power and wisdom. It's the part of you that is absolutely one in a way that no other part is with the infinite. It is the part of you that is the infinite, alive and well in you as you. There are other aspects of us that show up, like we talked about last week, but they are pseudo aspects. They are shadow selves. The real self is divine. The real self is tapped into and has access to infinite power, infinite knowledge, infinite awareness, infinite presence, a sense of presence that's here all the time. And that's the part of you that responds to the truth, that the truth speaks to and through. And that's the part of you that will recognize what your path is when you see it. See, we all have the freedom to choose our path. It is our birthright to do that. We have everything we need as well to do it. Ernest Holmes says this: the divine plan, and for those who are new, Ernest Holmes is the founder of the Science of Mind, which is the foundational teaching we're working with. The divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage, meaning lack and limitation of any kind, is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every soul. All instinctively feel that. All people feel it. The truth points to freedom under law. Thus, the inherent nature of humanity is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. We do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in scope, a love beyond our fondest dreams, and of a freedom which our soul craves. It's our birthright to live the freedom that allows us to choose the path that takes us to those promises of a life wonderful in scope, a love beyond its fondest dreams, and a continuation of freedom that our souls crave. We have that freedom and we have that opportunity, and we are supported in how to do it. Because it's our birthright, the whole universe is supporting us in finding it and doing it. So what does it really mean to enter the forest where there's no path? What does that look like? It's the idea of the person who spent their lives serving other people and putting everyone else first and doing the job they were supposed to do that they hate, and going on and on until one day they say, enough. I'm getting off of the path that's been beaten down by other people, and I'm stepping on a brand new way, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I know it's new and it's different, and I have to walk it. It's the person, it's the husband or wife who's been in a marriage for 35 years and suddenly realize it's not where they belong anymore. It's not their life. It's not their expression. And they turn and they step out of it into something totally unknown and unreal and unaware. It's that finding within us that something, that spark of newness where other things don't fit. I have a friend back in Philadelphia whose story is a rich story of this. It's a bit dramatic, but I like drama. So he was thrown out of his house at age 14 because he was a troublesome kid, and he was gay. Family found out he was gay. Said instead of this troublesome kid needs help, they said you can't live here. They threw him out. He survived on the streets. He survived on the streets by the ways that you can imagine kids survive on the streets. I met him by the time he was in his 20s, but here's the part of the story was him finding his path. There was something in him that knew there was more to life and he should have it. Something in him knew there was good for him and he should have it. So that by the time he was 16 or 17, he was living in a tent in a warehouse in the northern side, north end of Philadelphia. And he was doing odd jobs, panhandling, whatever it took to get money together for food. He also, by the way, by then had become part of a network of throwaway kids who were living in North Philadelphia. And what they would do is none of them wanted to work. None of them wanted to or could. But if there was one old enough to get a real job, they would all pool their efforts and help him get a job or her. And usually at a restaurant, and at the end of the night, when they start throwing food away, that person would be passing the food out the back door while these other kids would come and collect it. And they fed a whole lot of kids that way, a whole lot of people that way. They took care of each other in an amazing network that they created. By the time he moved into the tents, and I'm not sure how he made the connection, except he says it was always an inner pull, but he started saving his money and spent it on a yoga class. And then he began to do better in his life, get a little more money, and over the next several years, he took classes in all kinds of healing techniques. He learned Reiki. He learned about the science of mind because someone gave him a book. He learned about how to live and how to go and how to grow. And by the time I met him, he was a fairly well-established healer in the area, doing different kinds of healing, doing Reiki and similar sorts of things. He had a lot of the symptoms left that you would expect from someone who'd been through that. But underneath and inside it was this amazing spiritual being who was walking a path that was totally different than it looked like on the outside. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes that path that we discover for ourselves that is spiritual doesn't look any different than it did the day before, or than it does of anyone else. It may mean you stay in exactly the same job, but you walk a different road on the inside. Stepping into the forest where no one has gone before means you're stepping into a place where you haven't gone before. And while we can talk about all these external changes, the real change, the real shift that has to happen is inside. It's a consciousness change. It's a stepping on the path of thinking and feeling and knowing that you have not traveled before, that you haven't been on before. One of the things about this is that to get going on that often requires a push. I don't know about you, but sometimes there have been times in my life where I got real comfortable where I was and what I was doing, and everything kind of worked, and I didn't have to mess with it and think about it, and you just kind of go along. That works, unless you go numb with it, unless you stop thinking. Sometimes it takes a push. Sometimes there's an external event. Sometimes you get thrown out of a house. Sometimes you simply run into something that doesn't match your comfort or your collection of things. Michael Beckwith, the minister at Agape in California, says that we are pushed by our pain until we're pulled by our vision. Something will happen. We get pushed until our vision catches up and we say, there is something better for me. And I can do it. No matter how good things are, there's always something better. There's always greater freedom. There's always something more we can do. So the question is then, how do you find that path? I can talk about the path all the time, and I can't tell you what yours is because only you know it. Because each of us has a unique path. I can't tell you where the forest entry is for you. You'll find it. You know where it is. But how do you find it? You listen. You listen inside. You get quiet enough to listen. You turn off the external distractions. Or, if you're an external kind of person, you follow the external distractions that really get your attention. The ones that you look at and go, wow, I want that. I used to travel down a road in South Florida, and every time I passed this driveway, or this little dirt road that went off to the side, there was something about it just kept pulling me. It almost looked like it had a green glow to it. It didn't, but it kind of looked that way. Like I said, I like drama. So it kind of looked that way, and finally, after weeks of doing that, I made my trip down to that part of Florida with enough time that I could find out what the heck's down this little road that keeps pulling at me. I go down the road and I find this amazing, almost unknown Indian pyramid, a big flat top pyramid, sitting down there on a little island in Florida. I went, oh my goodness. And it became my meditation spot. It became a place where I really love to go and hang out and just think. So it was an external thing that got my attention it continued me on my path. So it may be something on the outside, but it also is about getting quiet enough to hear what's drawing you and pulling you on the inside. What really is your passion? What's exciting? You know, when you do these workshops out there in the world, one of the things they often do is have you go back to childhood. What was the thing you wanted to be when you grew up? And are you being it? And not so much what was the job, but what were the qualities of it? What was the experience you imagined having if you had that job? My answer was always fireman, because it would get people off my back. But I didn't know. And then later it was musician, and that worked out. But it was the fireman thing was just because the adventure, being helpful, being appreciated, was what I liked about it. I didn't even think about the part about running into fires. I mean, please, that was different. And driving the truck with the siren, that was the best part. So we find those things that bring us passion, and we like, and go after them in our consciousness to say, what do I need to know? Or maybe there's an idea that just keeps pushing at you. The idea of oneness. How can there be one power, not two? That was the idea that kept me going for years. It had me looking long before I found this teaching in other teachings for that idea of oneness. How can there be one and not two? And if there is one God that is God of love, What's all this devil stuff about? Where's all this evil stuff about? Where does that come from? What is it? Those ideas are what pulled me onto the path because of the guilt and shame I had always felt and been told I had to somehow overcome or let God overcome for me. That was my pull. That was my come get it kind of thing. So that helped me find the place to go into the woods. So you'll find it. You know what triggers you, what pulls you, what desires come up for you. You know what says in your heart of hearts, yes, yes, yes. See, and the other question people often have is, if I really have this kind of freedom and I can choose my path, then how do I know? How do I know that the free choice I'm wanting to make isn't doing harm? How do I know it's not bad for me and bad for the world? And is it really righteous? Because, quite often that thing you have within you that's calling you isn't necessarily agreed with or approved of by anybody else. Folks around us often think, really? You're going to do what? You think what? Again, Ernest. Ernest says this on page 267 in the textbook. The criterion for any person, I'm translating a bit, as to what is right or wrong for him or her is not to be found in some other person's judgment. The criterion is, does this thing I wish to express and become express more life, more happiness, more peace to myself, and at the same time do no harm to anyone? If it does harm, if it does express peace without doing harm, then it is right. It is not selfish. But if it is done at the expense of anyone, then in such degree we are making a wrong use of the law. That is our really one ethical stand in this teaching. Does it do harm? Does it bring greater peace, greater livingness, greater life? If it does, then we're on the right track. We're following that dream. And the other thing I would say about this, how do you find it, is it already exists. There's something in you that already knows about it. That true self that you are, when someone says, do you know what this is, or what about that is, and you, in your mind, you don't really have an answer. I don't know what the next best choice is for me. What do we say in this teaching? Something in me knows. And that something in me that knows is what also knows is also guiding me on that path. And I'll know consciously if I trust that something in me knows that at the right moment, at the right time, when I'm ready for it and the situation calls for it, I'll have that answer. I'll know what to do and when to do it, and where to go and what to do and what to think and how to pursue my thoughts and my beliefs. The other question that often comes up with this kind of thing is there a preordained path already set up that God has already figured out for us and we need to speak it and do it? And the answer to that is no. You are the one who preordains your path. You're the one who gets to choose your path. And it is preordained only in the sense that there are parts of you that know exactly what you desire to be, become, and do, and live the way you want to live. And if you get quiet, you'll find out what those are. And probably without being quiet, some of you could tell me right now, I know what I want. I want peace. I want to live easily and freely. I want lots of people around me to love. You know what it is. So when you think you don't know, declaring that something in you knows is a way to open that up and unveil that possibility for you. See, because it's not about automatically getting a new job or changing your life on the outside. It's about automatically changing what's inside. Often that will result in changing things on the outside, but it starts with changing in here. It starts with getting our consciousness different, turned around, straight, back on track, away from the idea that we are destined to lack, limitation, and poverty. Rather, we are destined to freedom, 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 freedom. And you're the one that gets to choose that freedom. So is this something only you can do that you have to do all by yourself? It is something that is a solitary quest, but it is not a quest you do alone. You have many companions along the way. Your inner guidance, for one. We here at the center are all about providing tools and opportunities and support for you on these quests. Support along the way. Through classes, through practitioner work in terms of individual counseling. They don't do counseling, but they do spiritual guidance when they are working with you. Through spiritual guidance from your minister or spiritual counseling that I do. There are lots of people around. Your core group, your peers. That's why we are starting to do more things here to allow for community to grow, because it is with each other that we can find the support to support us on our free journeys that we are each doing individually. So I leave you with a quote. You've already heard it, but you'll hear it again. And it's a quote that is sort of what this whole talk is built on. It comes from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emerson was a big influence in my family. My grandmother had studied Emerson in the late 1800s, and despite the fact that we were good Baptists, all of her Emerson books sat on a shelf. I read them all as a teenager. She read them regularly. It was the only thing in her house she would not let anybody take out of the house or mess with unless she was present. I could read them, but she had to be in the room. Those were precious to her. Bibles were different, but that was precious. So here's what Emerson says about this. Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and create one. Do this because it's what you deserve, because you're free. You're free, you're free, and you're wonderful. And so it is. Thank you. So if you would like to join me in a few moments of meditation and spiritual mind treatment. I take a moment and I listen inside to that real me, that me that doesn't say yes or no to anyone on the outside, who doesn't agree or disagree with anything outside of me. I listen to the me, the myself, the I that is always there, always whispering to me, always waiting for my recognition. And I listen. I listen for my best idea right now. I listen for my best next step right now. And as I listen, I recognize that this power within me, this voice within me, this awareness within me is an expression of the one power that creates all that is, that expresses itself as trees and rocks and mountains and universes and the simple things. It is the whole energy and substance behind everything. And I have its voice within me. I have its ear within me. I have its response within me. Because I am an expression of it. It isn't all of who I am. I'm part of it. I'm an expression of it. So knowing that, I choose freedom. I choose to let myself know what is mine to do. To let myself know what is mine to be. To let myself see that path. Or at least the first step on that path that would guide me toward a life more wonderful than I have yet imagined. Love that expresses that great power and goodness and freedom. A love beyond what I have yet to know. And a freedom to speak my word and have it come into form and play and place. Freedom to live as I choose to live, where I want to live, in the ways that I want to live. And that freedom and that ease and that joy is mine. So knowing that, I listen to that quiet voice within me, that quiet nudging, that urging, that sense of direction. And I trust it. And where it's possible and appropriate, I take action on it. I do no harm to anyone. I do only good by expressing my good and my truth. I add to the truth of everyone else. And right here now, I declare that my path is my path, and I commit my life to it. This level of truth, this level of reality, I move into the only response there is, which is gratitude. Gratitude for life, gratitude for everyone in it, gratitude for the power that God is, gratitude for the people who walk with me down these paths, gratitude for everyone here, gratitude for all life around me. I recognize the gratitude that's always there. And in that recognition, here and now, by action of this treatment, I know this is done and accomplished. Therefore, I can easily and freely release it, knowing it is now the mind of God. I let it be so, because it is, and so it is. So it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Big breath, everybody. All right. So, time to share our gratitude and our prosperity and our abundance freely and joyfully until it feels good, until you know that you are giving according to your desire for love and for good gratitude and ease, supporting this place, making it possible for us to continue as the center. Not that we're not going to, but just to know that you are contributing to who we are and what we're about and keeping us growing and going in this place. I'm happy to let you know that we are continuing to do that. In every level, we're growing in consciousness. We're growing in people, new people showing up and being involved. Today, it doesn't show up in the full seats, but you know what? That's the exterior. That's the second part. The first part is we're growing here. So continue to support our growth as you are called, and know that it is good. You are growing, and that's what counts, as well as us together.